Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 15th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 30 in the house, and it was the final full day before tonight's eviction. There was a lot going on, and despite what we said yesterday, we did, in fact, have to take the flip meter, the flip alert, out of the attic, out of retirement, because there's stuff to talk about. And with me to talk about it all is Aysha. How you doing, Aysha?
Hello, Taran. I'm doing well. I miss the days when they were just two people on the block and we're just deciding who goes home. We don't have to run through a million different scenarios that 66% of them don't even matter because that's not going to be the reality. And so it's just like, okay, does this conversation matter? Like, do I need to pay attention to this? Probably not, because Cedric's going to win the AI arena, or probably not because MJ's going to win the AI. It's so like that element I wish we could do away with, because I feel like they're trying to play. The thoughts are there, the action, but the thoughts are there to get out to like really play. But we're just restricted right now with having to account for this unknown.
That is very true. On the other hand, I think it's allowing for more opportunity to flip. Because let me tell you, yesterday, and this is the first time in history that this was even possible, there were two separate attempts to flip the vote. Different votes.
Yes.
There were two flips on two different votes that happened yesterday. Attempted, at least.
Yeah, this is an opportunity. You sound like a manager in corporate America. Here's more work. This is an opportunity for growth. No more
Exactly. Listen,
pay.
it's more work for me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, of course, let's set us up here. What's happening. Of course, Angela is an HOH. Quinn is the real deepfake HOH. He nominated Cedric, Mackenzie, Tucker. Tucker won the veto, took himself down. Rubina went up as his replacement. So for a while now, the consensus has been that Cedric is lock safe. If Mackenzie is on the block, she will go home. If she wins the AI arena competition, Rubina will go home. Even Kimo and T'Kor have agreed to that, despite a little bit of pushback and the occasional idea that maybe we should vote out Rubina over Mackenzie. That coming from Chelsea. So that's where the vote stood. But in addition to that, T'Kor and Kimo have been circling all week. I won't even mention the Let's Rat Out Leah plan because that still has not happened. But they've been circling the other stuff all week of how do we create a resistance against the Pentagon without both Tucker and Quinn. Because if Tucker and Quinn are going after each other, that takes away two of our biggest pieces on the board to strike against the Pentagon. So can we get the two of them to put aside their differences and come back together? And they've approached both of them a few times now with that idea, and both of them have basically said,
I mean, yeah, it's funny because it's like, in what world are you wanting to mend fences? Because ordinarily you're fine with two people going after each other. They're not going after me, so they're going after each other. So that's a-okay. And so I think the finesse here is trying to get Quinn and Tucker to realize why it's in their best interest. Like, they have to see what they can get out of it. And I don't feel like T'Kor and Kimo are selling that all that well. It's just like, hey, look, you should, hey, mend fences. But why? Like,
yeah.
what's in it for me personally?
I mean, for Tucker, he has a lot to gain. For Quinn,
Yeah.
not as much, because he is in the Pentagon. So it's like, yeah, put aside my differences with Tucker so that I can take out partially part of my power base and leave Tucker in the game. Like, but there is another push here today on day 30, and Quinn is reluctantly agreeing. He's, you know what? Maybe there's something we can do here. Not necessarily actually work with Tucker, but perhaps I can placate him. And he's, ugh, I hate that I used that word, placate. Oh, I was just tweeting about how Big Brother podcasters love to use the word placate, even though they probably never use it in their real life. I use it in my real life, Quinn. Why wouldn't I? It's a regular word. Just wait
Oh,
until I'm placating you during your deep dive.
that's when you start using when you're at happy hour and you're like, you know, guys, we don't want to be results oriented here. Okay. But placating is a pretty normal word.
Um, so, uh, so he talks to Brooklyn about this idea and basically says like, yeah, sure, I'll placate Tucker, but I'm gonna stab him in the back as soon as I have the option to. If I win the HOH, I will not nominate him, and then I will backdoor him if given the option. And then he'll be like, "Oh, what?" And I'll be like, "Whatever. It's Big Brother. I can bounce checks." So he's telling Brooklyn this. Brooklyn also is going to tell him about 5 points. Finally, so he's aware of that. And he talks to T'Kor and Kimo about potentially working with Tucker, and he also talks to Joseph about this plan to work with Tucker. At which point, I'm like, this is what I tweeted out today. Like, how many people are you going to tell that you plan to backstab this guy? He says, Joseph, I'm pretty sure Tucker watched Big Brother 14. We know he did. We just saw it in the episode last night. And I'm pretty sure he was a fan of Frank. Lots of people were. But like Frank, trying to win everything, you can't. You can't win everything. And I'm not comparing myself to Dan, which is a dangerous way to start a sentence.
Yeah.
But I want to do the same thing to Tucker that Dan did to Frank, essentially. Like, oh man, trick him into thinking I'm willing to work with him, and the first chance I get, boom. And so, and this is what I tweeted, but like, famously, Dan told a bunch of people what he was going to do during the funeral before he did the funeral. That was
Right.
the thing he did.
Because everyone was just like great actors and they knew
Mhm.
this was happening.
Yeah,
That's why it works so well.
and like they just all trusted Dan and wanted to work with him so bad that they just didn't rat him out, even though Frank was the HOH. It was, you know, it worked out well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the missing piece here. Like, you know, I mean, did you know that Quinn is a big fan of like the podcast, you know,
Was he?
RHAP? And I think I heard that. But
I
the
don't know. I'm not sure about that. I feel like if he was, he'd probably be playing a little differently.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think the miss here is because he's also such a big fan of the show. It's like you hear the references to these things happening multiple times, but then Quinn, was Dan sitting in the house saying, "Oh, when Dr. Will did this thing, oh, I want to do it just like Dr. Will." No, he was creative. He came up with something to do. I think that's what he's like. He's trying so hard to replicate when it's like you don't replicate and it becomes this great move. You got to get creative.
Yeah, and you know, he what he said to Brooklyn as well, and I think this was a big part of the motivation yesterday was he was like, I don't want people to think that I'm like into this idea of working with, like, I don't want people to think that Tucker has tricked me into actually working with him. Um and he had said that to the cameras the night before as well, like it only makes Tucker look good for me to fall in line with him. So my read on it is that like he not only wants the audience to know that like, hey, I'm not actually working with this guy. I'm the one tricking him. Let's be clear. But he also wants his fellow contestants to know that he's not being tricked by Tucker also, which has some validity to it, but he has told too many people, especially somebody like Joseph, who he cannot trust. Joseph has a secret final two with Tucker, and if Tucker wins an HOH and Joseph decides he wants Quinn to go, boom, look at that. Not that it probably matters anyway, because we haven't even talked about the other side of it, which is that it hasn't even worked yet. Tucker still doesn't want to work with Quinn.
Right. Exactly. He's too caught up on not being fooled by Tucker that I'm like, Tucker doesn't even want to fool you.
Mm. So he continues the conversation with Joseph, though, and it is a good one. And it's interesting to see what they're doing here, because despite all of the stuff that's happening with the vote, there is still a group coming together through their efforts. So they start talking about like who's playing the best game in the house. Quinn has been talking about this for a while. Quinn says Chelsea's playing the best game in the house, followed by Brooklyn, number 2. And Joseph disagrees. Joseph says, I think Chelsea's the only person playing better than me. It's like every time I'm like, you know what? Joseph kind of is good. Oh.
And so you start to learn not to even have that thought, because he's just to be a fly on the wall inside of Joseph's head, because he also thinks he's the comedic relief in the house, we've learned. I think he has this own version of what he's doing. Or I guess in how well it's going for him. Like he's not in an awful position, like he's doing things, but I think it's just this like inflated view of what he has going on that might be his downfall, because he's not going to, if Quinn is sitting here being honest with you about his perspective in the house, like his perspective, you gotta understand, like everybody's perception is the reality in the house. You're the only one who has that perception. Like, I don't understand.
I'm just like, I'm just trying to think about like, okay, let's imagine a scenario. It's Big Brother 16, and Nicole Franzel calls Derek the Dan of the season, and Derek is like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, pretty much. That's spot on. You got it.
Right.
Like what? This is not even that. This is Derek telling Nicole, hey, it's me. I'm the guy.
Right. Have you looked around who the Dan of the season is? It's actually me. Whoever you think is playing better than me is not.
He says, Joseph says, I don't think Brooklyn's really playing that well. I don't think she has people like that. And Quinn's like, well, she kind of has me like that. And I kind of felt like she had a lot of people like that, so I wasn't sure. I was starting to feel like maybe she's more loyal to Chelsea, and Joseph's like, I do think she's a final 2 with Chelsea, but I don't think she has many other people. And Quinn's like, well, maybe she is just loyal to me then. I don't know.
Here's the thing. That's information that Joseph should want to hear. Like if he put his ego game aside, he should hear, oh my gosh, Brooklyn is in a way better position in this house than I gave her credit for. So I actually need to keep an eye on that, rather than, oh, because me and Brooklyn aren't super close, she doesn't have everybody in her pocket. No, she just doesn't have you in her pocket, but look around.
Yeah. So they agree they're going to continue to work together, especially though to pull in T'Kor and Kimo. So they kind of orchestrate an approach to T'Kor and Kimo, because Quinn has been slowly trying to get the T'Kor and Kimo and Joseph on the same page about the Pentagon. He's told them both, it's 3 of them, but T'Kor and Kimo are basically one person. Both about the Pentagon separately. They don't know that each other knows about the Pentagon. And so he's trying to hint to T'Kor and Kimo, hey, I think Joseph would be on board with a revolution at some point. And he's been trying to hint to Joseph, hey, I think T'Kor and Kimo would be on board for a revolution at some point. And in the meantime, Joseph has separately gone to T'Kor and Kimo pitching a final three, which Quinn knows about. And so it's basically like let's really start to lock this in. I will say that we had a conversation that I think you're really on board. You will say that you think I'm really on board, so on and so forth. They do that, and that's basically exactly what they are going to do in just a little bit. But first, to finish off the Quinn Tucker storyline, Joseph does, for what it's worth, go to Tucker, and he says, "Hey, listen, I don't think you should target Quinn. I don't think Quinn is worth targeting. We should, like, this truce thing, like, I think you should go through with it because there's bigger fish to fry. There's more dangerous people in this house than Quinn. He's terrible at this. He's so bad at this." And Tucker is like, yeah, he is bad at this, but I want to target him. But he's like, but he's so bad at this. Why bother targeting him? That's what I'm saying. Listen, I've forgotten more about this game than Quinn has ever known. No hint that Quinn plans to betray Tucker, but a different argument than Quinn is using, of course, which is, hey, Quinn sucks at this. He should not be your priority, which honestly isn't the worst argument.
Yeah, it's yeah, not true.
So Tucker, I mean, Joseph is, and this is where I'm like, okay, I do think that Joseph is sometimes good at this because he is playing a lot of sides and he's not blurting out all the information at all times. He's just talking about how good he is all the time, which he shouldn't be. But apart from that, it's not bad.
Yeah, you take that away, he's doing well.
Yeah.
He's getting in his own way.
Okay. So that's because I'm kind of going in plot lines here because the chronology is all over the place from yesterday. That's the Quinn and Tucker storyline. There's no real resolution to it. Tucker's actually going to pitch to Cedric because we all know Tucker doesn't want to work with Quinn.
Yeah.
Tucker wants to work with Cedric, with Cam, with Kenny. Like, those are the guys he wants to work with. And so he actually goes to Cedric and he's like, hey, if you win this thing, us two, nobody will expect it. Like, we can bury the hatchet. Cedric has no intention of working Cedric.
Yeah.
He's already gone. Listen, this is the thing about Tucker, is that Quinn actively wanted to work with Tucker, was in multiple alliances with Tucker, was planning to overturn the power structure with Tucker's help. Tucker was like, nah, I want to work with the bros. So Tucker went to the bros, Cedric and Cam, and he was like, let's take out Quinn. Let's do it. And they were like, actually, no, we don't want to work with you. We're going to side with Quinn. And he was like, how could you? That's terrible. And now he is in a position again where he's like, okay, I've got the guy that did want to work with me, but I betrayed him. Or I've got the guys I wanted to work with who betrayed me. Yeah, it's them. I'm going to go with the bros again.
Right.
And quite frankly, I'm not blaming him in this instance because nobody's going to work with him at this point. But like, there's no right choice anymore. But the previous choice.
Right. And I mean, and that's been Tucker's issue, which is other people's okay. Tucker's issue is that he's all action. He's not going to talk it out, consider all the pros and cons before he goes and goes and says something, or like, oh, okay, I want to go talk to them. I'm gonna go talk to them. Whereas we have other people, the obvious, T'Kor and Kimo, who action is like the last thing on their agenda. So it's like we have to meet somewhere in the middle. I'm sure there's people in there who do that. They're just not like, I can't think of like an exact example. Maybe, yeah. But anyway, I think that's been Tucker's issue so far, is like if he did just sit down and kind of meditate on what he wanted to do, he could have figured out, okay, maybe I shouldn't go so hard against Quinn because maybe there's something there. Like if I'm not, like if I see Quinn and Cedric and Cam like having conversations, maybe there's something going on there. Maybe I shouldn't go as hard, because he could have seen this, what happened last week was going to come. He was just so blindsided.
Yeah. Well, that's where it basically stands right now with Quinn and Tucker. There's no real truce. There's a plan for them both to betray each other, but there's never actually even been like an agreement to not go after each other. So we'll see where all of that goes. But in the meantime, there's still a vote to talk about. And part of what T'Kor and Kimo have mentioned is that while they have agreed that Cedric should stay over Rubina, they are very concerned about the vote count, because Tucker expects the votes to be there to evict Cedric. He has expected those votes to be there all week long. And if the votes come in to evict Rubina over Cedric, Tucker's going to be looking around like, who flipped? And in an ideal world for T'Kor and Kimo, they're able to give Rubina sympathy votes so that Tucker won't get mad at them. And it would hide the alliance, right? I would hide the alliance, so on and so forth. To that idea, Brooklyn says, no. No. If some of us have to betray 5 points, all of us have to betray 5 points. It does not make sense to do. We are all voting Rubina out against Cedric. That is what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, and she is correctly assuming that like this will be not a line in the sand, but it will test Kimo and T'Kor's loyalty, because it's like, to Brooklyn, she's like, why are you trying to cover your butt with Tucker? Like, there's no other reason than if, you're not loyal to the Pentagon or the collective or whatever, right? And so it's like, that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to ride the middle and make sure they're still good with both sides if they were to go through with this and know that, the votes were going to follow how the collective wanted them to. I think it's a sticky spot for T'Kor and Kimo, which I feel like they put themselves in, which we'll get to.
So it does kind of annoy them that this idea has been shot down. And there's basically a period of time. So how a day normally works, for those not actively watching, is that T'Kor and Kimo will spend most of the day talking to each other and never actually act on any of the ideas that they're talking about, but they spend a large amount of time talking to each other about strategy. What happened yesterday, day 30, is that they did that same thing, except it was campaign day. And so people were just coming in and talking to them while they talked about strategy all day long. And all of a sudden, things were looking like they were maybe happening.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, they are co-HOHs, because why are they like setting up shop and people feel the need to have one-on-ones with them specifically?
Yeah, they even quit. Kimo even straight up calls it, "Oh, you're coming in for your one-on-one with us." I think there's some teriology math going on there. There's 3 of you. It's not a one-on-one.
Right.
You 2 are not one person.
It's like there's this game that you're in a group of people and you can count to like 100 or something, but you just can't talk over another person. And like when you start it, you say, "We are one," and then you do it. That's what T'Kor. That's what Timo's doing. Yeah.
I think, listen, I don't agree with anything other than Timo. I think Timo is the only way to do it.
Yeah. What else are people doing?
I think Kimo, I think there's all kinds of it's Timo.
It is Timo. It's the easiest thing to say, and it already sounds like it could be someone's name, which they are the realest showmance that we've had this season, because they are just at this point. And what at this point in the house, who's saying, "Oh, I just need to make sure I get T'Kor"? Well, you better work Kimo in those plans, because when are you going to get T'Kor alone to have a conversation? It's just they've cemented each other to each other. And I think it was all haha and giggles and fun, right? When people coming in and, oh, we're talking to y'all again. Oh, I'll wait my turn till I talk to you two, until they're sitting on the block next to each other next week, when people are like, no, we need to split them up, because they could be a detriment to these alliances. Like, they don't, I mean, if they can't get to Tucker, then it's just like, okay, if you're looking in the pecking order, what are you're going after Leah? Like, why? If MJ goes this week, what is, I mean, and Leah and MJ aren't even a thing, but it's like, why not go after them?
If MJ leaves, Pentagon wins HOH, and Tucker is safe, they absolutely should target Kimo.
Absolutely. It's just, it's so clear. Like, y'all sat up there and had the power to have alone time with the whole house, pretty much. Because at that point, it was like, oh, if I haven't gotten my one-on-one with Timo today, let me go in there, because everybody else is. And no matter if it was like fun talk like it was with Cam, which we can dive into, or strategy like they were talking to with like Tucker or Quinn or Joseph, like, I don't, that was not a good look. And I think that they're getting too comfortable is what it is.
Speaking of teriology, by the way, there's a new theory that Cedric is Terrence Howard's son.
Yes. I did spend a good amount of time, I mean, maybe like 10 minutes, looking, because Cedric said that his mom is a part of a 90s girl group.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no sign, and or Cedric is too young to have a Facebook, so I didn't see anything there. I tried to see like, oh, is anybody, my baby Cedric? No, no mom out there is publicly claiming Cedric's existence on Big Brother, at least where it's searchable. So it was like, I know it's not Terrence Howard, but I want to know who he's related to.
I don't know. Okay, so T'Kor and Kimo, they do encourage Rubina to talk to Quinn, because it's campaign day, everyone's campaigning, and Rubina's like, oh, who should I talk to? I'm going to talk to this person. They're like, you should talk to Quinn. He's like, I'm not going to talk to Quinn. There's no point. They're like, what do you mean there's no point? She's like, yeah, you already told me, as long as Tucker's here, like, what can we do? They're like, you should still talk to him, though. He's like, I don't think so. I just don't think there's a point. They're like, Rubina, you do not know how things might have changed. Please talk to Quinn. She does eventually go talk to Quinn, and she comes. It was a very good conversation, she said. They essentially agreed that she is a separate player from Tucker. He even was like, Tucker will need to go at some point, and she was like, I know. Yes, I agree. And Quinn does not want her to leave, and so she's very happy. She's, thank you for telling me to talk to Quinn. And so that talk happens, and it is good, because there is later going to be an attempt to flip this, but there's some campaigning happening there. Cedric is also campaigning. He campaigns to Timo, and the only question they're really interested in is, okay, Cedric, great points. What happens when we get down to 8? And Cedric is like, we'll figure it out.
Right.
When it comes, we'll figure it out when it comes. I'm sure we'll work something out.
And that's exactly the answer to show you that you were on the bottom, that you were the first out. I think it was Brooklyn is the one that said, okay, after we get Tucker out, we get Leah, we get Rubina, then we need to go for Timo, like T'Kor and Kimo, because like once those stragglers are out, like y'all are the biggest concern at this point, because you're becoming 2 votes. No other people in the house, no other duo in the house is a given 2 votes. like which makes y'all as bad as a showmance. It makes you worse than a showmance because even showmances have the possibility of breaking up. Y'all don't even have that on the line. Y'all are just he said he calls her a word that is the equivalent of sister. Y'all are blood at this point. So that's dangerous.
Yeah. So Quinn comes and talks to them, and he gives them the pitch for Joseph. He says, I talked to Joseph. Oh, it was so good. He was telling me, like, oh, I'm worried about Cam, Cedric, Chelsea, and Brooklyn. And I was like, yes, this is so perfect. Because he's the one that told them about them. And he's like, yes, this is so perfect. He's so down for this. He's definitely going to work with us. It's going to be great. And they're excited too. They're like, oh, that's so good. And he's like, I'm a little worried about Brooklyn though. She seems really loyal to the Pentagon. But don't worry, we're gonna flip this game on its head soon. This is gonna be great. What we gotta do? We gotta somehow get in the diary room all together. Visionaries diary room session. And they're like, yeah, that seems hard though. It's like, no, he's gonna be great. We can just rush in there. And they're like,
Right. And when would that happen where people are not like, well, why are those three in the diary room together?
Joseph also comes in and has his one-on-one with them. One-on-two with them. He does the same thing. Oh, I was just talking to Quinn. And Joseph approaches it differently, of course. Joseph is like, that kind of sucks, but I think we can work with him, I think he's down. I think we have him. I think he's way more with us than he is with them. So I think we can make something work. And we can really, again, we can like really do something, I think, soon. And Kimo's like, soon? Why not now? What do you mean? Well, I mean, what happens if MJ wins the AI arena? It's Cedric versus Rubina on the block. Why don't we just flip the game now and vote out Cedric and keep Rubina? We're talking about keeping Rubina, right? We're talking about wanting to work with Rubina. Why don't we just do it? And Joseph is like, oh man, I'm down, but that seems too soon to me. It seems a little too soon to make that happen and show our cards. And T'Kor is like, I agree. I also think it's too soon. And Kimo's like, but why is it too soon? Why not now? What if we never have another chance? They're like, I think we'll have other chances. Like, I think it's just a little too soon to make that move. But I do want to keep Rubina. I do. I would like, man, really, we hope that MJ doesn't win that AI arena competition because, man, it would be great if we could keep Rubina. And they're like, yes, because we like Rubina more. And Joseph is like, and then they laugh. He's like, I don't have to like her to work with her. I'm just,
Right.
I want to work with her, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you see the logic in it being too soon?
I mean, okay. Here's what I will say. After Joseph leaves, Kimo pushes T'Kor on this again. And he keeps pitching like, hey, we really need to do this. We need to tell Tucker about all of this. And we need to make this flip happen and work with Tucker. And I think that the right move for T'Kor is to flip to keep Rubina. I think that's the right move. When I hear Kimo pitch it to T'Kor, every instinct in my body says, no, bad move. This is not good. I disagree with everything you're saying. So the way that Kimo pitches it would make me feel very hesitant in the moment. I will give T'Kor that because the way Kimo pitches it is so obviously Tucker centric. So obviously, like, this is the way that we get in with Tucker. And we lock in with Tucker. And like, if we don't do this, Tucker will be mad at us. And so it's like, when I hear that, I am like, no, this is not for Tucker. If we did this, this would not be for Tucker. That is not how we need to play this. And that is a genuine concern because it is a risky move. And if you are not locked in on a risky move, it can be much worse. That said, I still do think it is the right move. Her logic of it's too soon. What happens if Chelsea, Brooklyn, Cam win an HOH and they come for us? It is a concern,
Yeah.
surely. That is like when we think about last season when Corey flips the game on Jared and Sari, and then wouldn't you know it, Jared wins that HOH.
Yeah.
That is a rough spot to be in for sure. That said, it was Cam that left that week in the same way that it might be Tucker that leaves the week. But there's no AI arena competition that season. So it is risky, but there's still room to play. And it does, I think, cripple that alliance, the Pentagon, so much because you have so many other outs. And this is part of what Kimo is arguing, but I don't think he necessarily argues it well. But like he's like, we have so much dirt on people. We can make this happen. And he is right there.
Yeah.
Like in the event, but he doesn't pitch it this way, but in the event that Chelsea, Cam, Brooklyn win an HOH, they are now alone, right? They're alone. MJ, Leah voted against them. Everyone voted against them. And they might, you might be like, oh, well, T'Kor and Kimo voted against. T'Kor and Kimo did this. Maybe they think that. But at the same time, they may also think, we are without numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We are lost. How do we get back into the swing of things? Well, T'Kor and Kimo hold the keys to Tucker. T'Kor and Kimo hold the keys to Joseph and Quinn. And if they need to say, hey, the only reason we did this is because Quinn told us about the
Yep.
Pentagon,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a pretty significant thing to drop to help protect yourself. You have a lot of outs, but if you are T'Kor and you know that you haven't used outs before, like say you didn't talk about Leah betraying Quinn, like, so it goes a lot of different ways. Are they the right players to make this kind of move? Maybe not.
Right.
But that is basically the conflict between the two of them. Kimo wants to do it, but maybe for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And T'Kor doesn't want to do it. And probably also for the wrong reasons. But
Yeah. I mean, it could be she doesn't want to do it because she understands that they aren't the right players to do it. Because my issue with the too soon logic is that if you already understand you're at the bottom of the collective and of the Pentagon, like you're the bottom of the big alliance and the sub alliance, and then you want to wait to flip on those people when you don't have the numbers. Like the issue is the numbers, and like I see what you're saying with Kimo. His whole motivation is Tucker, which okay. Forget about Tucker for a second. Think about everyone else that you're picking up by deciding to make this flip while you have the numbers. If you continue to eliminate people from that side, you never have the leverage to make that flip and have like longevity in the game. Because now, okay, what are you gonna do? Make the flip and have two people on your side? So I don't know. I think, yeah, I think Kimo's on the right track with wanting to flip it, but you're right, he's not selling it well.
yeah, that's how I felt. So as of right now, they're unsure. Kimo's pushing it. T'Kor is pushing back a little bit, bit reluctant. I think it's too soon. They get interrupted. They don't finish that conversation. In the meantime, though, and this is what I teased at the start of this podcast, there's a whole separate push to flip a whole separate vote. Chelsea starts talking to Cam about, should we really vote out MJ over Rubina? If it's MJ versus Rubina, shouldn't we vote out Rubina? And my answer to that is also absolutely. The problem with this is that you haven't done the legwork for it. You've been sitting around all week waiting for things to happen, letting your relationship with MJ and Leah start to wither away. And in the meantime, the vote has been locked in more and more for MJ to stay. And so at this point, the attempt to push is perhaps even more detrimental to your cause than helpful. But she talks to Cam about it, and she kind of feels like, what if we made this happen? What if we did this? And this is also very frustrating to me because we spent all of last week and even a good portion of the beginning of this week talking about how Chelsea and Brooklyn were in the best positions in the game, and if they wanted to, they absolutely could control this vote. And they sat around on their hands doing nothing all week. Not talking to MJ as much, not talking to Leah as much. Now, all of a sudden, they don't have control over MJ and Leah's votes, which means the vote could flip on Cedric. They can't even get the vote off of Mackenzie to Rubina anymore. And quite frankly, Cedric should not be on the block in the same way that Rubina should not be on the block. They should have said no to this.
Exactly. I don't understand why they act like a switch was flipped for Wednesday is when you need to figure out what's happening on Thursday. It feels like the moment. Well, no, it's before that. I was gonna say the moment, like once the noms are locked in, you know what's happening with the veto. But yeah, no, they should have had more influence on it. They acted like this deepfake HOH was so unknown. We don't know who's going to go up. We have no control over that. That's just in the air. And then just allowing Quinn to just have the power to say, I mean, we see in the episode that Brooklyn, had the idea as well, to like, let's go ahead and weaken Tucker by getting out Rubina. It's just like, where was the pushback? Why are y'all acting like y'all aren't in an alliance with this guy? Like, it's not some random person that's deep fake. It's not a mystery who has this power. So it just feels, yeah, this late night HO, this late night flip of just like, why don't we try to do this? It's just like, where has this energy been? And you can't be so confused why it's people aren't willing to make this move now.
Yeah, it's like you are not Izzy and Sari. You don't have the power to just do this whenever you want because Izzy and Sari were constantly maintaining. And so when they wanted to flip, they had the influence to do so. We were talking about this with Brooklyn and Chelsea. Throughout the time we talked about them being in the best position was that they were not active about it. It was just there. It just kind of happened. They were in that spot, but they were not doing anything to lock it in. And now that is starting to slip away. Now, it may recover in the event that certain things happen. If anything, it might be their best case scenario if like MJ wins the AI arena and Rubina does end up leaving. If that's still what happens, because it would be worst case scenario if Cedric ended up leaving. But even then, just like it's such a dropped ball to have let the relationship with Mackenzie and Leah deteriorate in the way that it has. They were a huge part of why Chelsea and Brooklyn were in such a good spot. And they never valued those connections, and they're now paying for that. So the Chelsea starts this push, but Brooklyn doesn't even want to do that in the first place. Quinn is also against it. It dies on the vine very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's another thing that comes back to T'Kor and Kimo, and they're like, excuse me? You're still pushing for this. You still want Rubina gone over Angela. You clearly have no respect for our position in this game. And it makes Kimo push T'Kor again. We need to do this. We need to flip. And she seems a little more willing to do it after this, but still hesitant to commit. And again, they never really reach a conclusion here. And the night ends without them having reached a conclusion.
Yeah.
And that's significant because there's not a lot of time during the day on Thursday, today, before the eviction, for them to lock something in. There is time. We've seen it happen before. This house especially, though, has been very reluctant to do much game talk Thursdays before the eviction. There's even been talk that they're like, oh, I don't know if we're allowed to talk much game on Thursday. They are. But like they just feel like this is not really the day to do this stuff. And so I think there's a good chance that because it wasn't locked in the night before, it may not be locked in. And part of the reason why is because it's not just them having a conversation and deciding to do it. They would need to then go and talk to other people
Yeah.
about it, which is something that they often find challenging. So that is where we stand at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the difference in like being able to say that, this was like a waffle Wednesday was in Big Brother 25, they would make a decision and then it would have and then they would find reasons to change that decision rather than, "Oh, well, should we?" And then, "Oh," when it's just floating in the air, no one wants to be the person to say, "Okay, this is what we're doing," because it makes it seem like you're the one in charge, you're the one leading it. And because no one is taking that initiative to make the decision to flip, like, "This is what we're doing and this is why." And I'm trying to convince, like, we have people, this is what we're doing. Then it's just like, oh, all loosey goosey, and why we have no decision at the end of the night. And it's like, yeah, yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Roybot.
Robot, no waffles, all batter.
Literally, literally, no waffles, all batter, too much water. It's just like you can't get anything going with that.
Mhm. So that is the vote flip storyline. There's still other stuff, a couple other things to mention. One thing in particular is that I guess like we should talk about the votes. But particularly, there's I think one vote that's very important, which is Leah's vote, and where she stands. But basically, in the event that MJ is up against Rubina, despite the flip attempt, it should still be MJ that leaves. Um, if it's MJ versus Cedric, it's definitely MJ that leaves. If it's Rubina versus Cedric, this is where things are. T'Kor, T'Kor, Kimo could be locked in votes for Rubina to stay over Cedric, for Cedric to leave. MJ having come off the block and Leah could be the fourth and fifth votes to evict Cedric easily without any other support from the collective or the Pentagon. MJ wants Cedric out because he nominated her last week and would be happy to vote him out if she knew that was the plan. Leah is also perfectly happy to vote Cedric out right now. She's been talking to Rubina. She's been talking to T'Kor and Kimo. And like I said, Chelsea and Brooklyn have been neglecting the relationships that they had with Mackenzie and Leah. They very much had the two of them. They would be asking Chelsea and Brooklyn where to vote. But now, because they've been neglecting those relationships, they're asking everyone where they should vote. In particular, Leah is asking T'Kor, where are the votes? How should I go? How should I vote? And he says, you should definitely vote out Cedric. The votes are there to take out Cedric. She's asking Quinn, how should I vote? Where are the votes? And he's saying, you should definitely vote to keep Cedric because Cedric is going to stay over Rubina. That's where the votes are. She's getting a bunch of conflicting information. She's going to T'Kor and Kimo and she's like, where are the votes? How should I be voting? And they're like, we'll figure it out. Like, so Leah doesn't really know where to place her vote right now to be in the majority, but I think she's perfectly willing to vote anywhere. MJ is roughly in the same spot. But that's not even counting the fact that Joseph did say he'd be down to do it. I don't know if he actually would be. But the bottom line is, if T'Kor and Kimo want to do this, they can without Quinn and Joseph's support. Now, that makes it riskier because now they are potentially burning two of their potential allies against the rest of the Pentagon. And quite frankly, gives Quinn and Joseph a lot of reason to be like, hey, we're back with you, Pentagon. This is now a split house. But you may have noticed what happened to Quinn's vote. That's what's being asked in the chat. So this is confusing. Quinn has operated all week long under the assumption that he has a vote, that Angela would be the tiebreaker, and that he can compete in the following HOH. As of recently, apparently, he was told, you actually don't have a vote. There's only going to be 9 votes this week. Both you and Angela are not voting. And now there is some, it's like he may not be able to compete in the following HOH, and that Angela will be able to compete in the following HOH. And so it's a little unclear about what is actually true right now. I will say, I think that this is the better version. I don't think Quinn should vote, and I
Yeah.
don't think he should compete in the following HOH. However, I think it's super sketchy that he went through the whole week thinking that, and then, quite frankly, very obviously, they changed the rules at the last minute. Because if the rules had always been this way, they would have said, "Hey, Quinn," when he's telling people he can vote and he can play, they would have called him in and been like, "Quinn, that's not how it works. You're not allowed to use production as a strategy," and tell people this. And so very clearly, like, production did some shady stuff here. They did some shady stuff to go into the, I think, what should be the correct way of handling it in the first place, but they should have said that up front and not changed the rules based on what they want to have happen tonight.
That's what I was confused about because the way that Quinn said it was that he has assumed. He said that was on me for assuming that I would get to play and that I would get to play next week in the HOH comp and that I would get a vote. And he was like, so that's on me for assuming. He's like, I was just in the dark. He was like, I just assumed these things.
But that's the thing, is that even if it was just an assumption, he was saying it with conviction, with certainty to other players who believed him because
Hmm.
of exactly what he had been saying prior to the veto ceremony, where he said, "I named the replacement nominee. I can't lie about this. I can't use production as a strategy. This has to be true because I'm saying it out loud and production isn't calling me on it." He then says, "I also can vote and I also can compete in the following HOH." He was not struck down by a bolt of lightning. He is therefore being confirmed by production. And the fact that they didn't call him on it means that they either screwed up by not calling him on it, or I think more likely, they just changed the rules later on because this is how they'd prefer for things to go in this particular instance. And last season, they wanted it to go a different way. And the season before that, or 2 seasons before that, they wanted it to go a different way. And so they are extremely inconsistent about their rules regarding these kinds of things, it to the point where they seem to be changing them in the middle of the week, the end of the week.
Yeah, because what do you think about Angela getting to play?
I I think Angela should be able to play.
Hmm.
I think Quinn should not be able to play. I think Quinn should not be able to vote. And I don't think Angela should vote either. I think they landed on the correct, if this is how it works,
Yeah.
I think this is the correct way to do it. Um, it's just that they shouldn't have changed it at the last minute and or should have been very clear about how this worked in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's the latter because I wonder if it was a situation where like it wasn't defined yet, or that it was like a because I mean because Quinn, I think it was to MJ said that like he didn't even ask like okay what are the rules, but with something like this you would think there are rules, right? So yeah, that's I could see Quinn doesn't seem to be frustrated, but we've seen that the lack of vulnerability with Quinn in the past month. So I wouldn't be surprised if he were frustrated. But I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, because what was the plan? Because that's the
Yeah.
thing. What was the plan if the deep fake HOH was actually a deep fake HOH and no one knew who it was?
Right, and I will say, like, to clarify, when I say he shouldn't be able to compete, what I'm saying is same thing that happened to Claire. I think that what happened to Claire
Yeah.
was the fair way to do it, and it became unfair when Jag didn't have to throw the next HOH. So to be clear, when Claire had the ability to overtake the HOH, she was forced to throw the following HOH, so that because theoretically it was a secret power,
Hmm.
and so she still competed, but she could not win. She had to throw the competition so that she could secretly not be able to win the following HOH. I think that there should never be a situation where the same person makes nominations 2 weeks in a row. I
Hmm.
think that is a fundamental part of Big Brother, both for fairness and also, more importantly, for the television entertainment. Same person being in charge 2 weeks in a row, even if it's Angela, is not what we want to be. So yeah, I think that's the case. But then and then it also comes back to, like, literally in the episode last night, he was in the diary room at the end of the episode saying, well, Tucker, I'm just going to win next week and put you up. Like, because he assumed he could play. And they put that in the edited episode, which again tells me that that was the plan and that they changed the plan. So, you know, I will say this. I still think it's better that he is not playing. And if they had changed the plan last season so that Jag couldn't play, I would have thought that was also better. This is the better outcome, but in the worst possible way to get there if you are changing it halfway through. They should be told how it works. It should be consistent. I think that is important. But I do think that this is how things should be moving forward. Always, when there is a power that takes over an HOH, the person that does that counts as their HOH. They cannot play. They must throw, whatever the case may be. I think that's how it should work, and it should be very clear. That's it.
Period.
So, so that's where the votes stand, right? You could theoretically get Joseph's vote, but he is not really super on board with this idea. But if you wanted to flip this vote, you could do so with Leah and MJ. So that's part of the problem. If T'Kor finally agrees to flip the vote, it means that they have to go to Leah and MJ and make sure that they are on board. And then they also will have to, talk to Quinn and probably Joseph and get their buy-in as well. And I don't think that they will want to buy in. They will be pretty reluctant. And so all of this will need to happen during the day today while they're doing rehearsals and getting ready. And so it's a lot to ask for, especially now that the momentum may have slowed. So it's not impossible, but that's kind of where we stand with the vote flip.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more like, it's one of those things where I find myself every Friday having to explain to my friends that only watch the episodes what happened. Like, why did the vote go the way it did? I'm like, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z. So it's hard because it's like, well, yeah, if they do decide to flip things today, it's gonna make no sense tonight on the episode who gets voted out. And it's gonna, I mean, all of us are gonna explain to our episode only friends again. But I just don't think it didn't have enough legs yesterday to actually get something going. So it seems like, you know, if MJ doesn't win, she goes home. If it's Cedric and Rubina, then Rubina's going.
That's the most likely outcome right now. But stay tuned.
Yeah.
So a few other things. Kimo at one point told Rubina, hey, Brooklyn's not voting for you. If it's you and Cedric, which freaked Rubina out. And T'Kor later had to give Rubina a bit of a pep talk. And they were both frustrated with Kimo throughout the day. Rubina shouldn't be, because he's only telling her the truth and trying to help her. But I think T'Kor's frustration came through to Rubina, who is frustrated as with Kimo, because again, he is trying to help her, but like also there's a lot of Tucker in the motivation, and they see that and they're like, he's just so obsessed with wanting to work with Tucker. And so they're a little frustrated with that, and some of what he's saying comes off as paranoia. And so they're not super pleased with Kimo.
Even for your own I don't even, what can we call, I don't even, there has to be a good word. Maybe people will land on it for what you can call T'Kor and Kimo. But for your person to think that you're being the paranoid one, it's like, that's not a good thing. I mean, I understand that she understands like his attraction to Tucker, but it's like, when that is the thing driving any decisions you make. Because if Tucker weren't there, Kimo would have no incentive to go against their alliances.
I mean, this is the thing too, though. Like, and this happens so often, is that like, I don't think they feel this way if Kimo hadn't gone to them and been like, guys, I'm in a lot of trouble. I've got a crush and it's clouding my judgment. The second you say that, now anytime he talks about Tucker, they go, whoa, well, your judgment is clouded because you have a crush on him.
Yeah.
And if he had not said that, they wouldn't feel as strongly about it, I think. It's the same problem Quinn has, that Joseph has, that they all seem to have, is that none of them can keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Danielle Reyes told you over 20 years ago. Mouth closed, eyes open.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing when like my friends are trying to pick a place to go eat, and I'm like, it would be great to go to the dog friendly place. I don't know. I just think their food's amazing. They're like, Asia, we know you want to bring pepper and cinnamon. Like, that's what it is. So it's like, it's no secret. No, however Kimo tries to spin it, it's always going to be present because they know how googly eyed he is over Tucker.
So Angela, if you recall,
I can be on the bottom.
Had gone up to the 4 points, as I call them, to beg to be in their alliance. She is going to go to Tucker during the day in the bathroom. And Tucker's like, hey, so I'm working on bringing you in. And she's like, oh, no, don't do that. I'm sorry. That was so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that. Like, that was just, you don't need to bring me into things. And he's like, no, I want to. I want to make something happen. And she's like, no, that's fine. And she goes on to tell him about how in week 1, she was approached with this collective alliance that she knows was fake. Which is funny because Tucker has been told, and this is very easy to forget, Tucker has been told about the collective. Joseph told him about the collective.
When they met upstairs, yep.
He doesn't act like he knows about it. But this does not seem to ring any alarm bells in Tucker. He doesn't go talk about the collective. I think he forgot.
Yeah.
I think this might actually be a case where he forgot. But that happens.
Right. You forget Angela is walking about the house. Because of this week, because of last week, I feel like she's becoming such a non-entity that maybe Tucker just was like, we have the people on Twitter calling it the Mother Tucker Alliance. I know that they have this loyalty to each other, and I think Tucker just sees it as, look, this is a number. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go to Angela to weigh out options, or it's not like he sees her as like an asset. I think he just sees like no one else wants to work with her, so obviously, like I'm gonna seize the opportunity. But it's just like, I want to see what happens with Angela next week. If maybe she's not on the block, you know, what is she still going to be a non-entity in the house? Is just someone who's trying to figure out what's going on, someone who's rolling her eyes as people walk through rooms. she rolled her eyes at Quinn because he was like walking funny in the house. That's just a trend. That's just what she does at this point. Lisa, now Quinn, don't walk funny around Angela. But I just want to know where she lands in this house. Nowhere.
She needs to wait another month or so, and then then hope that the comps aren't physical in the end.
Yeah.
So she does, right after the conversation with Tucker, talk to Brooklyn and pitch that they should work together.
Yeah.
And then Brooklyn immediately is like, oh yes, totally. And then right after tells Quinn, like, Angela came up to me wanting to work with me. Can you believe it? She's like, Quinn, this is how the alliance works. We tell each other everything. Everything, every little thing. And she later says to Cedric, she's like, listen, nobody knows about us. All we need to do is stick together until the 8, and we are golden. No one knows about the Pentagon. Everyone. Except for Angela and Tucker.
Yes.
And Rubina knows about the Pentagon.
Exactly. Oh.
No, you know what?
Everybody,
That's not fair. Leah and MJ don't know either. I just don't
they
think
can.
about them.
I feel like it's fair. I think because they both recognize that they're not in alliances. They can recognize that something has to be happening with the people that they aren't talking game with.
Yeah, I mean, here's what's happening, right? The Pentagon is 5 people. There's 13 players total. She thinks there's 5 loyal players and nobody else knows about them. The reality is there's 4 loyal players, one of whom is very not loyal. So already the ratio goes wild. Then in addition to that, Joseph, T'Kor, and Kimo all fully know about the Pentagon. So that's 3
hmm
additional people. So that's 3 additional people. And then they've also heavily hinted at Tucker that 4 of those people, the 4 loyal people, are in an alliance. So Tucker also should have a good idea. Um, basically 4 people outside of their 4 people know about their 4 people, and one of their 5 people is betraying them. And so more people know about it and are against the Pentagon than are in the Pentagon and loyal to the Pentagon. And the people in the
yeah,
Pentagon don't know that anybody else knows about the Pentagon.
right. Everybody wants to be the cookout and make it to the final number of people with their entire alliance. And it's hard to do, guys. Look around. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Asia?
Are we not gonna talk about tea for tea? We had this lovely during all the 2-on-1s. Cam comes in,
Yeah.
and yeah, Timo wants information from Cam about who he has a passive crush on because it's not active.
Mhm.
He has a passive crush, meaning he thinks this person is attractive, but he's not going to act on it. They're, Joseph thinks that's a great. Joseph happens to come in. He thinks that's a great way to describe it. But he's like, I'm only going to tell you if you tell me you're 2 pieces of tea. So it's just like, what are we doing here?
Well, this is what's funny is because Joseph, I forgot to mention this as well. Joseph is still going on about, hey, let's keep Cam and Leah in the house together because they will continue to be a target. And this is one of those moments where you're reminded that Joseph is occasionally like 2 weeks behind on information
Yeah.
because Cam and Leah haven't been a thing for a while now. And in fact, so much so to the point that it's now starting to be more Cam and Chelsea. Wouldn't you know? And so yes, there's a little bit of talk here.
Yeah. I mean, the chemo did. He was like, okay, I won't say any names, but there's somebody that has a crush on you. Let's just say Spider-Man was a really good movie. So he's trying to say MJ has a crush on Cam. So Cam returns that his passive crush, which they all whispered it, and it's just like, come on, you're on the live feeds. Who are you whispering it for? But it's Chelsea.
Mhm.
And then their information back was that Chelsea has a crush on Cam. And he's like, did y'all talk to Chelsea about that crush? And you're like, oh, no. He's like, did y'all have the same conversation? So I don't know if anything's going to happen there because if we're at the point of saying crush, and Cam even said crush is intense. Like to say crush, that's intense. What in what world? That is
We're now talking passive versus active. Like,
what? I swear, are we 12?
it's literally like, who do you like?
Yeah.
But do you like them?
Oh, like is too serious. Oh, I can't.
I only like Chelsea. I don't like Chelsea.
Oh gosh, yeah, he whatever this was just showed me that Cam and Chelsea are not going to become a thing because any serious showmances we've had have not been crush is a strong word. So if anything, it's just going to be maybe they may turn into some light flirting, but I don't think the showmance is on the horizon.
I mean, the thing is, if they do become a showmance, Chelsea's gonna be eating a lot of crow for what she was saying to the cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought Cam was attractive, but he's so unattractive. He's so dirty. He's this and that. Like when she thought he was interested in Leah.
Yeah.
And then if she changes her tune when he now has a passive crush on her, she will probably feel a bit embarrassed.
That's what it is. Like, because she had the initial crush and then she thought he liked someone else, it's like, oh, that immediately made him unattractive. But then if he turns around and is like, no, I actually have a passive crush on you. Oh, okay, never mind.
First, oh, you have a pat. Okay. All right, you're gonna have to start washing your socks.
Right. That's what I was confused too, and I know y'all were confused on it. Either it was an update or a roundtable or something about, did she say he doesn't wash his Crocs or wash his cracks? I thought it was cracks, but I
don't recall this conversation.
It was somewhere. It was somewhere. I was watching it on YouTube. One of these things.
Sounds like a slop conversation.
It does. No, I think I remember you talking about it, Taran. No, I honestly can't remember, but I know because I was like, I was confused too if it was Crocs or cracks. But yeah, I don't think this is going anywhere, and I also think the MJ information was irrelevant because Cam didn't seem. He's just like, oh, okay. But come on, guys. Everybody's adults here.
All right. Well, I believe then that is what we have for you today. Unless there's anything else, Asia.
I was just gonna say, with everything going on in this house and all of the different loyalties, I just want to give a shout out to Delphika Johnson on Twitter because her alliance maps are great. I swear it just paints a clear picture and just to keep things in line. So she regularly posts them on Twitter. So if you have not gone and checked those out, it's really helpful in just knowing where everybody lies, because I'm still trying to keep track of what's what and who's who in this house. So, but that's it.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today. Thank you all so much for joining us. I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. at noon Eastern. To update on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including if a flip. I guess you'll know if the flip happens, but I'll be able to tell you how it happened.
Yes,
if it does. But then also who wins the following HOH in a competition that will actually matter because they'll actually have the power to do things. Probably because we'll also find out about a twist tonight. So stay tuned for that, but it will be noon Eastern tomorrow because we will be talking with the latest evictee from the house for our exit interview. So tune in for that. And then, of course, we'll have the Q&A tomorrow as well. So tune in for all of it. I will be live on Twitch tonight watching the episode. There might be a flip. The AI Arena competition matters. There's plenty to react to, including we will find out probably what the twist actually is. So make sure you're watching along on Twitch with me so that you can see the reactions and chat with people in the chat. It's great fun over there. Asia, what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I recently joined Chappelle and Mari over on Recap Kickback to talk about Divorce in the Black. So that should be dropping soon. So keep a lookout for that. Just make sure you go subscribe to the Recap Kickback YouTube channel. And yeah, to keep up with what I'm doing, you can follow me at Asia Like Asia on all social media. That's AYSHA, like ASIA.
All right. And there's also a new patron event tonight at 6 that I guess there's a Zoom link in your Patreon accounts to jump on a call with Rob, I think. Oh, boy. So check that out if you are a patron or if you want to become a patron and join tonight. So there you go. All right. That's what we have for you. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.